Damn them all to hell. That was the first thought in my head the night everything fell apart. My name's Ray, and for 29 years I played the quiet daughter, the good one. But secrets don't stay buried forever, especially not when the house they tried to steal from me was never theirs to begin with. The living room shimmered with soft golden light from the Christmas tree, each twinkling bulb casting delicate shadows on the walls like memories dancing in silence. The air was thick with the smell of gingerbread and cinnamon, sweet, comforting, familiar. If I closed my eyes, I could almost pretend it was any other Christmas. One of the good ones. One where maybe, just maybe, I was part of the warmth, part of the love. But even in this glow, my chest felt tight. I sat on the very edge of the couch, hands clasped in my lap so tightly that my knuckles burned white. My palms were clammy. I kept forcing myself to smile, to look content, to match the mood of the room. Was it noticeable? Could they see through it this time? I looked over at my sister Lauren. Her hair fell in perfect waves down her back, catching the firelight like she was born from it. She was laughing softly, like a line out of a movie, her fingers lightly circling the rim of her hot chocolate mug. Everything about her seemed rehearsed. Effortless. And beautiful in that effortless way that made you feel inadequate just by breathing the same air. "Sweetheart," Mom said, her voice trembling with anticipation. "We've been planning this for so long, you deserve it." She handed Lauren a small gold-wrapped box tied with a crisp white ribbon, like something pulled from the cover of a luxury catalog. Dad leaned back in his armchair beside her, his face unreadable but proud. I could already feel the imbalance tipping. Lauren giggled. "Should I open it now?" Her voice was soft, teasing, magnetic. "Of course," Dad said with a warm chuckle. "Go ahead." I felt the breath catch in my throat as she began peeling back the paper slowly, deliberately, like she'd done it 100 times before in front of an adoring audience. I stared hard at my lap, at the white envelope resting there, plain, unadorned, my name scribbled in Dad's handwriting like an afterthought. Why did I still hope this year would be different? Why, after all these years, was there still a tiny flicker in me believing maybe, just maybe, they'd see me? When Lauren lifted the lid and gasped, I already knew. A silver key, gleaming, nestled in black velvet. "The key to your new apartment," Mom whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. "A place that's all yours." Lauren squealed and jumped up, throwing her arms around both of them. The room erupted in claps and cheers. My parents looked at her like she'd just solved world peace. No one noticed me, no one asked me to open my envelope, no one cared to guess what might be inside. I blinked against the burn behind my eyes. "Thanks," I muttered to no one in particular, fingering the edge of the envelope. Thin, lightweight, just enough to say they remembered, not enough to say I mattered. Outside, snow was falling in slow drifts, pressing against the windows like a quiet echo of what I felt inside, cold and blurred. Mom glanced my way briefly. "Did you open your card, honey?" I forced a nod. "Yeah, thanks." She smiled, small, polite, already turning back to Lauren. "Why do I keep doing this to myself? Why do I keep waiting for something that never comes?" I leaned back slightly, letting the sounds of laughter and clinking mugs fade behind me. My heart ached with a weight I couldn't name, but had carried so long it felt like part of me. And yet, beneath the ache, a strange stillness. Not numbness, not peace either. Something quieter, sharper, memory. And with it, the beginning of something else entirely. I don't know what triggered it exactly. Maybe it was the way Lauren clutched that silver key like it was a birthright. Maybe it was how Mom kept saying, "You earned it, sweetheart," like she'd spent her whole life tallying up Lauren's worth in gifts. But something cracked. Not loud, not shattering, just a small, clean break somewhere deep. My fingers pressed into the envelope on my lap, crinkling its thin edges. I hadn't opened it, I didn't need to. I knew what was inside. A card. Maybe a small check. A polite, light, obligatory nod to the fact that I existed. Nothing like a key, nothing with weight. I stared at the tree, at the golden glow of the lights. They flickered gently as if trying to warm me. But inside, something was turning cold. And then, like a breath I hadn't meant to take, it came back. My 9th birthday. I was sitting at the kitchen table, legs swinging beneath me, heart hammering with excitement. I'd spent the entire week planning it in my head. The cake I wanted, the colors of the icing, the silly paper hats, nothing fancy, just the four of us, laughter, candles, maybe even a song. That morning I woke up to the smell of toast and coffee and thought, this is it. Mom was in the hallway, phone tucked between her ear and shoulder, her voice bright. Yes, Lauren's rehearsal is at 10. Yes, the director will be there. Of course, we can't miss it. I waited. She saw me standing there. I smiled. Mom, is today? She blinked, confused for a second, then her eyes widened. Oh baby, I'm so sorry, but you know how important this rehearsal is. Lauren's audition for the conservatory. Opportunities like this don't just fall into your lap. She kissed the top of my head. Like that made it okay. Like her hands weren't already grabbing her purse and car keys. I'll bring something back later, all right? And just like that, she was gone. I made my own cake, from a box in the pantry. I cracked the eggs too hard, got shell in the mix, burned my hand trying to check the oven. I sat there alone in the fading afternoon light, icing it with shaky hands and piping little stars along the edge with a Ziploc bag. When I lit the candles, the house was silent, just me and a flickering flame. I sang myself happy birthday. I blew out the candles in one breath, and told myself it was enough. It wasn't. I told myself I didn't need them to care, that it didn't matter, that I could carry my own joy, but something inside me dimmed that day, and it never came back. Melissa? Dad's voice pulled me out of the memory. I looked up. He wasn't even looking at me, just refilling his tea. I swallowed hard. Yeah? He glanced my way. Did you get your card? Yeah, thanks, I murmured again. My voice sounded hollow even to me. The sound of Lauren's laughter drifted in from the next room. Bright, echoing, like wind chimes made of crystal. And I sat there, clutching a cheap envelope with trembling fingers, my eyes stinging, my heart remembering what it shouldn't. How many moments like that had there been? How many birthdays forgotten? How many victories ignored? How many times had I told myself it was okay just to keep going? The ache in my chest grew sharper. It wasn't just tonight. It never was. It was 2 weeks after Christmas when the phone rang. I almost didn't answer. I was curled up on the couch in my apartment, lights off, a blanket around my shoulders, a movie playing in the background I hadn't paid attention to. The envelope from Christmas still sat on my kitchen counter, unopened. I couldn't bring myself to toss it, but I couldn't bring myself to look either. The screen lit up, Mom. I stared at it for a second. My thumb hovered over decline. But then, I picked up. Melissa, she said, her voice soft, a little strained, the tone she used when she wanted something but didn't want to sound like it. Your dad hurt his back again, in the garage. Could you come home for a bit? Just a couple of days, help him move some boxes. How are you, honey? Not. I've been thinking about you. Just a request, a task, like always. I hesitated, my throat tightened, the old ache pushing up again. I'll come, I heard myself say, flat, guarded. The drive back felt like I was heading into someone else's past. The streets were the same, the houses, the snow-covered sidewalks, but I wasn't. Not anymore. When I stepped through the front door, the house still smelled like cinnamon and lemon cleaner, like control and forced perfection. The living room was pristine, as if no one had lived there, only performed. Pillows fluffed, shelves dusted, the Christmas tree still up but now dulled, and the walls, lined with photos of Lauren, her ballet recital, her graduation, her painting exhibition. Me? A single photo tucked in the corner of a bookshelf, my college graduation, slightly tilted, partially hidden behind a stack of outdated magazines. I found Dad in his armchair rubbing his lower back, face tight with pain. Hey, I said quietly. He nodded, not really looking at me. Garage, he muttered. Boxes near the far wall, don't touch the heavy ones, just sort through them. No thank you, no good to see you. I slipped on my gloves and headed into the garage. It was cold and stale, the concrete floor biting through my shoes, dust clung to everything. I moved slowly, carefully, pulling old holiday boxes aside, half expecting to find nothing but tangled lights and broken ornaments. Then I saw it. A door, tucked at the back of the garage. Dad's office. It was always locked, always, but now, it was slightly ajar. A sliver of warm yellow light spilled into the hallway like an invitation. My stomach turned. I hesitated, heart thudding. Walk away, leave it, don't make it worse, but my feet moved forward, the door creaked open with the softest groan. Inside, order. Precision, everything in its place, neat rows of folders, labeled, stacked, perfect, and then, the safe, his fortress, his secret vault, slightly open. A mistake, or fate? My fingers moved before I could stop them. I pulled it open. Inside, envelopes, stacks of documents, my name on nearly every one, property deeds, loan contracts, mortgage statements. But I'd never signed any of this, never even heard of these accounts. I picked up one thick envelope, in Dad's unmistakable handwriting, "Open only if I die." My fingers trembled as I tore it open. And there it was. The truth. They'd taken out a loan in my name, a huge one, years ago, used it to fund Lauren's fashion brand. The same brand they'd boasted about at parties, the one that quietly shut down a year later. They used me, my name, my credit, my future. And never told me. Never even asked. The paper in my hands trembled, so did I, but not from fear, from something else entirely. Something deeper, something colder, something sharp. I sat in my car outside the house for nearly half an hour before I could breathe properly. The documents were still in my bag, still warm from my hands, still screaming everything I didn't want to believe. They used my name, my identity, my future, to fund Lauren's failure, to protect her dream. And they hadn't told me. Not once, not even a whisper. The betrayal didn't come with fireworks, it came in waves, sharp and quiet, like cold water leaking through the seams of your coat. You don't notice until your bones are soaked. I drove back to the city on autopilot, my fingers clenched on the steering wheel, my thoughts a slow boiling storm. When I got home, I spread the papers across my kitchen table. Under the fluorescent light, everything looked too clear, too real. My name. Forged. Again and again, signatures that looked like mine, that were mine, but weren't. I remembered something Ethan once told me, years ago, during a freelance project when I was helping his firm with organizing case notes. "If you ever see something strange in your name," he said offhandedly, "call someone you trust, early, quietly." I called him the next morning. "Melissa?" he answered, surprised. "Wow, long time, what's going on?" "I need your help," I said, my voice low but steady. "It's big, Ethan. I think my parents committed fraud in my name." Silence, a sharp inhale on the other end. "Okay, how soon can you come in?" That afternoon I sat in his office, the documents between us. He read in silence, his brow furrowed deeper with every page. Finally he looked up. "This isn't just shady," he said. "It's criminal. Forgery, identity fraud, loan misrepresentation. Melissa, if you wanted to press charges, you'd have a case." I stared at him. The room felt too quiet. "I don't want that," I said. "Not yet." He didn't ask why. Instead, he asked the better question. "What do you want to do?" I paused. Looked down at the last page on the stack, a mortgage agreement, secured by collateral. The lake house, of course, the crown jewel, the place they only ever took Lauren, the one they bragged about to guests, the symbol of everything they thought they were. It had been mortgaged. For Lauren's company. The same company that folded within a year. I swallowed, slowly, as the plan unfolded in my mind like a quiet match in a dark room. "I want to buy it," I said. Ethan blinked. "The house?" I nodded. "I want to buy it through someone else, a firm, whatever you can set up. I don't want my name on anything until it's done." He leaned back, considering. Then slowly he smiled. Not a smug smile, just a quiet, approving one. "Okay," he said, "let's do this right." In the days that followed, I watched the plan come to life. Ethan moved fast, made calls, filed paperwork, arranged the right hands to hold the deal. The house was already in pre-foreclosure. They were months behind on payments. The bank was ready. Within 3 weeks it was done. The title was clean. The transfer final. The lake house was mine. Not inherited, not gifted. Mine. And they had no idea. They still thought it was slipping through their fingers, still scrambling to save it, still hoping for a miracle. But I wasn't their miracle. Not anymore. I was the storm they never saw coming, and I was just getting started. Christmas came again, like it always did. Same living room, same tree, same glow. But this time I didn't feel like a guest in my own family. I stood near the doorway, my coat still on, fingers curled around a plain white box in my bag. The only gift I brought, the only one that mattered. The room was dressed to impress. Red ornaments, flickering candles, a fresh, gingerbread-scented candle burning on the mantel. But to me it all looked like a stage play I'd seen too many times. And I already knew the ending. Lauren was curled in her usual spot on the couch, wine glass in hand, her laughter bright and easy. Her hair fell in soft curls, her red nails gleaming under the lights like little rubies. She looked like she belonged in a magazine ad for luxury Christmases. Like this was her world and the rest of us were just extras. Mom stood in front of her, eyes gleaming, holding a silver-wrapped box tied with velvet ribbon. "This is special," she said, her voice already trembling. "Just for you." Lauren grinned and tore into the box, her movements eager, practiced. Everyone leaned in, watching, holding their breath, like they already knew it was going to be something big. And it was. Another key, another apartment, a newer, shinier one. "Right in the city," Mom said proudly. "Modern, elegant, you deserve it, darling." Lauren threw her arms around them, the same scene, the same cheers, the same warmth wrapped around her like a crown of firelight. And I stood there, my fingers tightening around the white box. This was the moment. I stepped forward. "I have a gift too," I said, voice calm, sharp enough to slice the air in half. They turned, slowly. Dad frowned. "You do?" I handed him the box. Plain, unwrapped, no shine, no performance. He opened it, pulled out the single envelope inside. The law firm's logo gleamed faintly under the lights. His brows furrowed. He flipped through the first page, then the next. Mom moved closer, her breath catching audibly. Lauren's smile froze. "What is this?" Dad asked, his voice low, brittle. I looked him in the eye. "It's the deed," I said. "To the lake house." He blinked. "No, that can't. It's legal," I said. "The bank took it when you defaulted on the loan. I bought it, through a firm. Quietly. It's mine." The room went still. Mom covered her mouth, her eyes wide, watery. Lauren shot forward, grabbing one of the pages from Dad's shaking hands. "No," she said, her voice sharp. "That house belongs to this family. You can't just take it, Melissa." I met her gaze, steady, cold. "It doesn't belong to the family, it never did. It was leveraged to cover your debts. Your failed brand. The one I unknowingly funded with loans taken out in my name." Dad's hands trembled. "That's absurd," I cut him off. "You forged my signature, you used me to save her, and now you've lost everything you thought you could control." Mom's voice cracked. "Please, we can fix this. We didn't mean to." "No," I said, my tone final. "You meant it. Every time you looked away, every time you called me the strong one while throwing everything at her, every time you made me invisible so she could shine." Dad slammed a hand on the table. "If you walk out now, you're no longer part of this family." I straightened. I smiled. I never really was. And then I turned. The door shut behind me with a sound that didn't echo grief, only freedom. The cold hit me as soon as the door closed behind me, but it felt clean, like someone had sliced through the air with a knife and let all the rot out. I stood on the porch for a long moment, the night pressing against my skin, sharp and honest. Behind me the house was silent, not because they didn't have words, no, they had plenty. But they didn't know how to use them anymore, not on me. I walked to my car slowly, deliberately. Every step felt like shedding a layer of weight I'd carried for years. They didn't come after me. Of course they didn't. But the calls started the next day. Missed call, Mom, 3, voicemail. "Melissa, please, please call me. I know you're angry. We made mistakes, I know that. But that house means everything to this family. It's not just wooden walls, it's where Lauren learned to swim. Where your father proposed, where we made memories. Please don't do this." I deleted it. The second one came later that evening. "This time, Dad. You've made your point, now be reasonable. That house isn't just yours, it's part of our legacy. You want revenge? Fine, you've had it, now do the right thing." The right thing, I thought. What a phrase to throw at the daughter you stole from. Then came Lauren's message. Short. Venomous. "You're disgusting. You ruined everything. You've always been jealous, always wanted what was mine. Give it back, or I swear." I stopped reading. There was a time those words would have gutted me, would have sent me into spirals of doubt, guilt, questioning everything. Not anymore. They couldn't reach me here. I was at the lake house now, my house. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that didn't ask anything from me. No expectations, no, just smile for the photo, no, can you help your sister for a second? Just the hush of wind brushing against the trees, the creak of old wood floors that finally felt like they belonged to me. The stillness of water outside the window mirroring the sky in perfect silence. Each day, I took something down. A photo. A trophy. A memory that wasn't mine, and replaced it with something small. Something I chose. A chair I loved. A painting I'd kept rolled under my bed since college. Books that smelled like comfort. I didn't throw away their history. I just stopped pretending it was mine. And slowly, room by room, the house stopped being theirs, and became mine. Not in the way property is owned, but in the way peace is earned. They kept calling. Some days I didn't even check the messages. Other days I listened, just to remind myself how far I'd come. Mom, pleading. Dad, furious. Lauren, spinning between threats and tears. But the girl they thought I was, the one who always forgave, always stayed quiet, always stepped back so others could shine. She was gone. And I wasn't mourning her. I was protecting the woman she became. The lake was still that morning. Not frozen, just calm, glass-like, reflecting the pale gray sky above it with a quiet dignity I hadn't known how to appreciate before. I sat by the window, a mug of black coffee in my hands, the steam curling into the air like a soft exhale. My breath matched it, slow, measured. I wasn't waiting for anyone anymore. No more scanning the driveway for their cars, no more wondering if they'd finally say the words I used to pray for, no more bargaining with invisible ghosts. The house was mine now, not just on paper, but in spirit. I'd repainted the walls, warm, earthy colors, burnt amber, deep green, a soft cream that made the sunlight feel alive. I replaced the stiff, glossy furniture with pieces I'd picked out myself. Nothing expensive, just honest, comfortable, inviting. I tore down every photo of Lauren in her leotards, every graduation frame polished like a shrine. Not out of bitterness, but out of necessity. I needed space. Not just physical, but emotional. A blank wall, a clean canvas. And slowly I started adding things that felt like me. A thrifted print of a city skyline I'd never visited but dreamed of. A tiny clay vase I made in a college art class no one came to see. A framed poem I wrote once and never showed anyone. Each item whispered, "You are here. You matter. You are allowed to take up space." I didn't tell many people where I'd gone. Not out of secrecy, but protection. Not everyone needs access to your healing. Lauren's angry texts had slowed to silence. Mom's voicemails grew shorter, then vanished altogether. I imagined their house slowly emptying, their perfect image fraying at the seams. But I didn't feel triumph, just distance. Like watching the weather in a city I no longer lived in. One day, while unpacking a forgotten box from my old apartment, I found something. The first certificate I ever won, 8th grade science fair. The one they missed. The one I hid in a drawer after Mom shrugged and Dad said nothing. I framed it, hung it next to the kitchen. Not because I needed the world to see it, but because I wanted to. Because that girl, glue-stained fingers, wide-eyed, desperate for a moment of pride, deserved to be remembered. Some mornings I walked by the lake barefoot, letting the cold grass sting my skin just enough to remind me I was alive. I'd stand still, breathing in the sharp air, watching the water move just slightly. And I'd smile. Not the practiced kind I used to wear at family dinners, not the polite one I gave at work or in photos, a real one. Small. Quiet. But mine. I wasn't healed. Not completely. Some nights I still dreamed of birthdays missed, of dinners where I sat forgotten, of watching Lauren be loved out loud while I clutched silence in my lap. But I didn't wake up aching anymore. I woke up whole, and that was enough. I didn't need revenge. Didn't need forgiveness. Didn't need them to finally understand. I had something better. Peace. It's strange, really, how quiet freedom is. I always thought it would roar, that it would crash into my life like thunder, like fury, like fire. But it didn't. It whispered, like the wind through open windows, like the first sip of warm coffee on a cold morning, like hearing your own name and not flinching. This isn't a story about revenge, not really. It's not about punishing the people who hurt me, or forcing them to say the things I used to beg for in my head late at night. It's about letting go. Letting go of the desperate ache to be chosen. Letting go of the girl who used to sit at family dinners and pretend silence was enough. Letting go of the version of me who thought love had to be earned through quiet obedience. They didn't change. They still haven't. But I have. I no longer twist myself into a quieter shape just to keep the peace. I no longer translate coldness into "they're just tired." I no longer bend under the weight of being the strong one. I don't need to be strong anymore. I just need to be real. Whole. And I am. Sometimes I still ask myself, was I wrong? Was I cruel to leave? Was I selfish to buy that house? Was I heartless to watch them unravel from a distance? But the questions don't echo the way they used to. They pass through me, like wind through branches, noticed but not clung to. Because I know the answer. No, I wasn't wrong to protect myself. I wasn't wrong to claim what they took. I wasn't wrong to stop asking for crumbs and start building my own table. What they called betrayal, I call survival. What they called disrespect, I call self-respect. What they call silence, I call peace. And if you've ever sat in a room full of people and felt invisible, if you've ever unwrapped a gift that felt more like a performance than love, if you've ever shrunk yourself so someone else could shine, I hope you know this. You are allowed to choose you. Even if it means walking away. Even if it means saying no. Even if it means starting over from nothing. Because nothing is better than everything that erases you. One day, someone will ask what happened to Melissa, where she went, why she changed, why she never came back. Let them wonder. I don't owe them a version of me they refuse to see. All I owe is the truth. I left because I was never truly there to begin with. And I stayed gone because I finally realized I never needed to be.